What you are about to hear will break your heart, and then it will put it back together again. Because this is not a story about titles or legal documents or palace politics. This is a story about two children, and about what it means to grow up carrying a name that the whole world knows, while your family is torn apart by forces you are too young to understand. Hello, friends. My name is James, and you are watching Royal Daily Report, your number one source for the most exclusive and most emotional royal stories on the internet. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now because tonight we are telling a story that every grandparent, every parent, every person who has ever watched a family struggle will feel in their bones. And if you have been with us from the beginning, you already know. We never hold back. We never pull back. Let us get into it. Archie Harrison Mountbatten-Windsor is 6 years old. Lilibet Diana Mountbatten-Windsor is 4 years old. They live in a beautiful house in Montecito, California with their parents. They go to school. They play in the garden. They laugh and argue and do all the things that 6-year-olds and 4-year-olds do all over the world every single day. They are ordinary children living an ordinary childhood. Except for one thing. One thing that makes their childhood unlike any other childhood on earth. They are the grandchildren of a king, the great-grandchildren of a queen who ruled for 70 years. They carry in their blood a history that stretches back centuries. And they know absolutely none of it. Not yet. They are too young, too innocent, too beautifully unaware of everything that has been decided and disputed and fought over in their names by adults on the other side of the world. And tonight we are telling the story of those two children. Not the legal story, not the institutional story, the human story. The story that every person over 50 who has watched their own family struggle with distance and pride and the things that go unsaid for too long will recognize immediately. Because this story is not just about Archie and Lilibet. It is about every grandchild who has been caught in the middle of something they did not start, and every grandparent who lies awake at night wondering if it is too late to fix it. Our source is someone who has spent time with the Sussex family in California, someone who knows Harry and Meghan personally, and who has watched Archie and Lilibet grow from babies into the small people they are today. Someone who came to us this week not because they wanted to cause trouble, but because they said, the world keeps talking about these children as if they are pieces on a chessboard, as if they are legal arguments, as if they are symbols in a family war. And I want people to know who they actually are, what they are actually like, because they are extraordinary, and the people fighting over their future have never even sat in a room with them. So tonight, that is what we are doing. We are telling you who Archie and Lilibet actually are, not as royal pawns, not as legal cases, as children, as the specific, particular, wonderful, complicated, funny, frustrating, beautiful children that our source has watched grow up in that California house. Archie first. Our source describes Archie Harrison at 6 years old as a boy who is almost impossibly like his father. Not in the ways you might expect from reading about Harry in the press. Not the wild party prince or the rebellious royal. The other Harry. The Harry that people who know him personally describe. Curious. Warm. The kind of child who notices things. Who asks questions that make adults stop and think. Who sees something in the garden and wants to know everything about it. What it is, why it does what it does, where it came from. Our source says Archie has inherited Harry's absolute inability to walk past someone who is sad without stopping to ask if they are all right. That he is the child in any room who gravitates toward the person sitting alone. Who notices the adult who seems tired and goes and sits next to them without being asked. Who does not yet have the language to say, I see that you are struggling, but whose instinct, whose pure 6-year-old instinct, is always to move toward the person who needs company rather than away from them. He is also, our source says, extremely funny. Deliberately funny, in a way that 6-year-olds usually are not. With timing, with awareness of his audience, with a look that he gives right before a punchline that is so precisely calculated it makes adults laugh before the joke even lands. Harry has that look. Anyone who has watched Harry in unguarded moments knows that look. And Archie has inherited it completely. Our source says there are moments watching Archie do something deliberately, perfectly comic when the resemblance to his father at the same age, in the photographs, in the home videos, is so strong it takes your breath away. And then there is his relationship with his sister. Our source says this is the thing about Archie that moves them most. the way he is with Lilibet. Because Lilibet is 2 years younger and Archie is 2 years older, and in most sibling pairs that age gap creates a dynamic where the older child is slightly impatient with the younger one, slightly tolerant at best. But with Archie and Lilibet it is different. Archie watches out for his sister with a protectiveness that goes beyond what most 6-year-olds feel for younger siblings. He explains things to her, carefully, patiently, in language he has calibrated specifically for a 4-year-old. He notices when she is left out of something and fixes it before an adult has to intervene. He remembers what she likes and what frightens her and what makes her laugh. And our source says watching a 6-year-old boy be that kind to his little sister, is one of the most moving things they have ever seen in that house. Because Archie does not know he is being watched when he does these things. He is just being who he is. And who he is, at 6 years old, is someone who loves his sister with a completeness that most adults spend their whole lives trying to achieve. Now Lilibet. Our source struggles to describe Lilibet in words that do her justice. They said, she is the kind of child who walks into a room and changes the atmosphere of it. Not because she is loud. She is not particularly loud. But because there is something about her presence that is simply undeniable. That is the word our source used. Undeniable. She has an awareness of the people around her that is startling in a 4-year-old. She reads rooms. She reads faces. She knows when something is wrong before anyone has said anything. And she responds to that knowledge not with anxiety, but with a kind of focused attention that makes adults feel seen in a way they do not expect from a child her age. She has her great-grandmother's eyes. Our source said this quietly and then did not speak for a moment. Because anyone who knew Queen Elizabeth, anyone who has seen photographs of the young queen, the queen in her 30s and 40s, the queen before the weight of 70 years of reign settled fully on her, knows what those eyes look like. Alert, warm, missing absolutely nothing. And Lilibet has them. This 4-year-old girl in California has the eyes of a woman who ruled for 70 years. And our source says there are moments when Lilibet looks at you with those eyes and you feel, absurdly, that she understands more than she is letting on. That behind the 4-year-old exterior something older and quieter is watching and understanding and filing everything away. She is also, our source says, completely fearless. Not reckless. Not the kind of fearless that makes parents nervous. The kind of fearless that comes from complete security. From knowing absolutely that she is loved. That her world is safe. That the people around her will catch her if she falls. And from that foundation of total security, she approaches everything. New places, new people, new experiences. With an openness and a confidence that our source says is the most purely joyful thing they have ever witnessed in a child. She does not hold back. She does not wait to see if something is safe before throwing herself into it. She goes, completely, with her whole self. And the world, in her experience, has always caught her. And our source says watching a child who has not yet learned to be afraid, is something they will carry with them for the rest of their life. Now our source told us something else. Something that happened during their most recent visit to the Montecito house that they said was the reason they came to us. The reason they needed this story to be told. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. Harry was in the garden with Archie and Lilibet. Just the three of them. Meghan was inside. Our source was sitting where they could see the garden through a window without being in it. And what they watched happen in that garden on that Sunday afternoon is something they described to us with a care and a detail that told us how important it was to them. How much they needed to get it exactly right. Harry was sitting on the grass. Archie was showing him something. A bug, our source thinks, or possibly a particularly interesting stone, the kind of thing that is endlessly fascinating at 6. And Lilibet was sitting in Harry's lap, facing outward, leaning back against her father's chest, watching her brother with the focused attention she brings to everything. And Harry had one arm around Lilibet and was leaning forward slightly to look at whatever Archie was showing him. And he was asking questions. Real questions. Not the half-distracted questions that busy parents ask when they are thinking about something else. Real questions. The kind that told Archie that his father was genuinely, completely interested in whatever was in his hand. And Archie was answering with the serious authority that 6-year-olds bring to topics they consider themselves expert in. And Lilibet was watching her brother explain things to their father with an expression that our source described as pure contentment. Not excited, not performing, just content. Completely, quietly, perfectly content. In her father's arms watching her brother. On a Sunday afternoon in California. Our source watched this for several minutes. And they said, I kept thinking about what was happening on the other side of the world at that same moment. The meetings, the documents, the legal arguments, the palace advisors and the succession laws and the letters patent and all the enormous machinery of an institution that has been fighting over these children's names and titles and places in the official record. All of that existing simultaneously with this. A father on the grass with his children on a Sunday afternoon. A 6-year-old boy with a bug or a stone, and a father who was genuinely interested. A 4-year-old girl leaning back against her father's chest watching her brother with those eyes. And I thought, whoever wins the argument about the documents and the titles and the records, this right here, this is what matters. This is what none of them can touch. Whatever the palace decides about what Archie and Lilibet are called in the official books, it cannot touch this. It cannot reach into that garden and change what is happening on that grass. It cannot take this away from them. Charles does not know this moment happened. He was not in that garden. He has not been in any garden with his grandchildren. The distance between a grandfather and his grandchildren, 5,000 miles of ocean and 6 years of broken things, means he has missed thousands of moments like this one. Thousands of Sunday afternoons. Thousands of bugs and stones and questions asked with genuine interest and answers given with 6-year-old authority. Thousands of moments of a little girl leaning back against her father's chest with those eyes and that expression of perfect contentment. Charles has missed all of them. And our source says, this is the thing nobody talks about clearly enough. This is the real cost of all of it. Not the titles, not the succession order, not the official records. The Sunday afternoons. The ordinary, irreplaceable Sunday afternoons that a grandfather has spent on the other side of the world while his grandchildren grew up without him. Our source told us one final thing before they left. They said, I am 53 years old. I have children of my own. I have watched my own family navigate difficult things, distance and pride, and the things that go unsaid for too long. And I know from my own life that the moments you think you can recover, the moments you think you can get back later, when things are better, when the argument is resolved, when everyone has calmed down, you cannot always get them back. Sometimes the Sunday afternoons run out before the argument ends. And I look at Charles, a grandfather, a sick grandfather, running out of Sunday afternoons. And I look at Archie on the grass with his bug and his stone, and his father, who is genuinely interested. And I look at Lilibet leaning back against Harry's chest with her great-grandmother's eyes and her expression of perfect contentment. And I think, someone needs to get on a plane. Someone needs to get on a plane before the Sunday afternoons run out. Because those children are extraordinary, and their grandfather is running out of time to know them. And that, more than any document, more than any title, more than anything the palace has ever decided in any 4-hour meeting, that is the real story. That is the only story that actually matters. We could not agree more. That is all for tonight, friends. I am James, and this has been Royal Daily Report. If this story moved you the way it moved us, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already and turn on those notifications because we are here every single week with the stories that go deeper than the headlines. Share this tonight with someone you love, with a parent, with a grandparent, with anyone who knows what it feels like to watch time move faster than the things that need to be fixed. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and stay royal. Goodbye, friends.